The Search is a drama film directed by Michel Hazanavicius, who is most famous for writing and directing The Artist, Best Director and Best Picture winner at the Academy Awards. Granted, The Search has no similarities to The Artist in any respect. This film is a loosely based remake of the classic 1948 film directed by Fred Zinnemann, starring Montgomery Clift in his debut role, a film that was nominated for 5 Oscars, winning Best Screenplay and Best Child Actor for Ivan Yandel. Initially, I was actually surprised that this is considered a remake because here there are actually 2 stories going on in parallel, with only one of them pretty much hitting mostly the same notes as the original. Family members who were cut off from each other by war start searching for one another, one of them being a little boy who in the beginning is left so traumatized by witnessing the murder of his parents that he is rendered mute. After leaving his baby brother at the doorstep of a family, he is picked up by other refugees and taken out of the conflict zone. Arriving at the detention camp, he is interviewed by a social worker named Helen, played by Annette Bening, who fails at persuading the boy to answering her questions. Frightened by the uniforms of American Red Cross workers, the very people who are trying to help him, eventually he flees and is left wandering the streets until he is befriended by a French woman named Carol, played by Berenice Bourget, who works for a non-governmental organization representing the European Human Rights Commission. Her job there is to interview survivors and write reports about the conflict in order to motivate the United Nations Foreign Affairs Committee into taking action. In the original film, it was an American army engineer who befriends a Holocaust survivor, a little boy who is being searched for by his mother. Here it is his older sister who, after witnessing firsthand the murder of their parents, makes it her goal to locate both of her brothers. Eventually she ends up finding the same refugee center where her brother ran away from. The other story in here is completely absent from the original. It's about a 19-year-old kid who, after getting arrested for possession of marijuana, is drafted into the army where he is constantly bullied, beaten and humiliated to the point of being totally dehumanized. A similar storyline like the one of the young recruit would have had no place in the original, especially if we take into consideration that that film takes place basically during peacetime, in a part of post-World War II Germany occupied by the United States. The new film takes place in 1999 during the beginning of the Second Chechen War, which broke out between the Russian Federation and Chechen separatists, leading, as wars tend to the suffering of many civilians. Here I would say this storyline is actually the more compelling of the two. After a while you start to wonder what's the actual connection between the two plots, besides the fact that they both show the effect war can have on innocent people. You do get your answer in the end, and in a way which I thought was very clever. The performances and pacing are great, especially the 2 young leads, but where this movie probably fails a little bit is because you have 2 stories that don't really balance each other out perfectly. The one about the woman and the little boy starts out strong, but as it goes along starts to become more and more underwhelming, not really adding anything new to the story from the original film it is based on. The one about the soldier is like a ticking time bomb. Every time we cut back to him, the tension is just rising and rising, and you're constantly left wondering what atrocities are going to be committed next, and by whom, seeing as this guy is dehumanized to the point where he starts behaving more and more like the bullies who were abusing him in the first place. That part of the film is actually very reminiscent to Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. It is pessimistic, showcasing the absurdities of war and how it is capable of taking away everything from you, including your humanity. The story of the siblings is the optimistic side of the film, but it fails to get you as emotionally invested as it did in the original. I would say that it does become somewhat anticlimactic on one side, while having reasonably effective suspense on the other. All in all, I would recommend the film, if you're not too sensitive to violence that is. Keep in mind that the violence does get pretty gruesome in some parts.